I've sold right back into it. All right, folks, I've seen a few films in the past few weeks. Let's review them. All right, folks, let's start off with Robert Eggers' latest, which is The Northman. Now, I have seen Robert Eggers' other two, I believe only two, that he's made, feature films, The Witch and The Lighthouse. The Witch, I can appreciate both on a technical level, you know, in terms of the crafts. The Witch I'm not as fond of. The Witch is a lot less story-driven, and personally, you know, obviously I'm more of a story guy when it comes to films. But I do still appreciate what it's going for, and then The Lighthouse I definitely liked a bit more, and it's one that I can personally resonate more with just as a story. But The Northman, I would say, you know, there's been some discussion as to whether or not it's Robert Eggers' most mainstream, and I would say it definitely is. I think The Northman is really, at its core, just an awesome Viking film. You know, a really cool, a really cool film, right? I was going into it expecting really a Lighthouse level film. You know, I thought it would be a lot more of his typical style. You definitely see Robert Eggers in there. I don't want to mislead anybody here. It's definitely a Robert Eggers film. There's no mistaking that. But it's not anywhere near like The Lighthouse in terms of storytelling. It's not the same kind of film. The story it's pretty basic here. You know, Hamlet derivative. But, you know, nobody's really coming to The Northman for the story. I didn't, certainly. And what I found in The Northman was just a really awesome film that everybody is incredible in this film, first of all, in terms of the performances. It was a grand film. It really puts you into the shoes of this, you know, brutal time, and just makes you feel at home in this Viking world. Not something I expected to feel going into it. And the film is just like, it's a good time. You know, sometimes you're not looking for the most inventive thing, the most original thing. And I think Robert Eggers provides an entertaining yet still cerebral blockbuster film. Well, I wish it were a blockbuster film. I wish it made more money. But it's a good time. It's, again, every technical aspect is on fire here. You've got a great score, incredible cinematography. The choreography is just absolutely insane, you know, with this Viking stuff. The performances, as I mentioned, everybody's great. The Northman is an awesome film. It's definitely my favorite of Robert Eggers, and I really loved it. I would recommend everybody watch it. If you know that's your kind of thing, you know, maybe if you don't like violence or whatever, because there is quite a bit of that, then this might not be for you. But I love The Northman. It is the quintessential Viking film, far and away. It is my favorite Eggers film. I loved it. I walked out of the film, I saw it with my brother, and he said, you know, they really should just give Robert Eggers an Aztec. I think he said the Aztecs time period. And I said they really ought to give the man every time period, because this man has proven 3 times now that he can take a historical period and make a hell of a story out of it with a lot of deep themes to it. And The Northman is just that. It is undeniably an incredible film that I adore. And I saw another film that actually also got a lot of hype, and one I was pretty excited for. Going into the weekend, they came out the same weekend, I was expecting I would like this one more. And that would be The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. You know, the Nicolas Cage movie. That's what everybody knows it as. I didn't like it. I didn't like the Nicolas Cage movie. I should mention, first of all, I don't have a large attachment to Nicolas Cage, his career, or him as an actor or person. I haven't seen too many of his films. But I just did not find this. I don't think it worked on any level it was going for. I don't think it was particularly clever, despite how many times it tried to reassure itself that it was and reassure the audience that it was. I don't think it was funny. I laughed at a handful of jokes, mainly just the over-the-top, ridiculous ones. Here's what I noticed when I watched the film, and this might seem like a paradox to you. The film is over-the-top. It's bombastic. It's crazy. It's got a lot of ridiculous bits, right? And that's what I expected going in. That's what I wanted. But if this makes sense, I don't know that they did it enough. There were multiple times where I'm thinking to myself, they really ought to go just full force here. Really, do not stop. Just continue the ridiculousness. Make this a entirely fictional film. Nothing about it should make sense. There were multiple times where I thought the comedy would have been enhanced that way, where I thought the film and the story would have been enhanced that way. But then there were times where they do it, and it's just not enjoyable. Like, I'm going to spoil it for a bit now. If you haven't seen the film, you should probably stop watching now. But the ending of the film is, I mean, this whole time they're talking about making this film. And then pretty early on, I had predicted, it was going to be the film just because I'd already gotten on the plane this film was on, right? And it was not one I enjoyed being on. And so you get to the end, and it's just ridiculous. Nicolas Cage is killing all these thugs or whatever. And then it turns out it's a movie. It's not funny. It's not particularly clever. And I was just sort of tired by the end. I hadn't laughed the entire time. It wasn't even really fun, to be honest with you. I couldn't really get into the Pedro Pascal-Nick Cage relationship even. And I like Pedro Pascal as an actor a lot. But the film was ridiculous, and yet not ridiculous enough. I'm going to give The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent a D. I did not have a good time with this film at all. Surprised it's receiving the reception it has. I think a lot of people are giving Nicolas Cage the benefit of the doubt, who, was not that impressive in that film, if I'm being honest with you. And then the last film I want to talk about here is Barry Levinson's The Survivor. Came out recently. Most people probably don't know this film. They probably won't watch this film. I just want to talk about it a bit. It's been on my radar for a while just because I like Barry Levinson. I've followed him as a director. I haven't seen many of his films. I've seen Rain Man, which I absolutely love. No, I don't. Never mind. I thought I had a poster of it. But I love Rain Man. And then Wag the Dog I saw recently, another one of his films, which is just incredible. Maybe Dustin Hoffman is just the key there. But then I watched The Survivor, which is, seems like a really interesting story. It's about Harry Haft, is his American name, a Jewish boxer who survives the Holocaust and then boxes in order to connect with his long-lost girlfriend. And the story sounds very interesting. It's an HBO sort of original film, TV movie, I guess one could say. But the film is a little underwhelming. It starts off, I was really enjoying it. I was this might be one of my favorite films of the year. I'd like to shout out Ben Foster with just an incredible leading performance. My God, what a performance there. He really gives his all to this film. I've seen him in Hell or High Water and The Survivor, and he's incredible in both. But here he really takes it to another level. The film isn't really sure what it wants to be. It's covering a lot of things. It's sort of a biopic at some point, but you get like halfway through, and you think you're already at like the climax, right? Like I was like, the hell, that was a quick film. And then you move the mouse a little bit, and you realize that you're literally only an hour through. And that's just because it was covering the first phase, like the boxing portion of his life. And the film jumps back all around all sorts of things. You get a ton of flashbacks. And the film sort of loses you. It's trying to tackle a lot. It's trying to tackle a lot of, like, he starts this relationship with this girl. And then even sort of by the end of the film, they're not on the best terms, but the film doesn't really do anything to resolve that, because it just doesn't have the time. It had prioritized too many other things. And I don't think The Survivor has its priorities in the right place for a lot of the film. I think it was a bit of a mess, a bit jumbled. I still enjoyed it just slightly, I have to say. I did enjoy it just slightly. And it was definitely my least favorite of Barry Levinson's films so far. I love Ben Foster's performance. I would sing that praise all day. Hans Zimmer's score. I was watching the film. I'm like, damn, this score is pretty good. I wonder who did it. No shock to me when I looked it up and it was Hans Zimmer. But beyond that, the film really doesn't have a lot else to say. There's some, good supporting performances here. Quite a cast, actually. John Leguizamo, Danny DeVito, Billy Magnuson, one of the Sarsgaard, the guy from the Batman who's like the DA, Gil Coulson in that movie. I know his character's name, but I don't know the actor's name. The Survivor's a B. It's a B. And I didn't love it. It's going for too much. I don't know that I would recommend it to somebody. But if you watch it, let me know what you think. I don't think a lot of people will watch this one, so I'd be interested to see your perspective. All right, folks, so those are the 3 new releases I've seen recently. Let me know if there's any others that I missed that I should check out. Let me know if you've seen any of the 3 I mentioned in this video and what you think of them. I would recommend you go see The Northman, Survivor, that's up to you, and The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. Let's skip that one. All right, maybe don't go see that one. Folks, I've been EPC Reviews. You've been absolutely amazing. I'm sorry if I just tapped the phone there. It's the low power mode popped up. I'm on 20% battery, and I have to film my Ozark Season 4 Part 2 video. Stay tuned for that. Bye-bye.